So today we have one of my students, Jessica Garrett, and I'm Miss Brock, and she's basically going to be doing a mowing problem for us. So let's go ahead and get started. Do you want to go ahead and read the problem for us?
Dan and Alan take turns cutting the grass. Their lawn is 60 yards long and 40 yards wide.
All right. So what would you do for number 1? Read it for us and then go ahead and solve.
Number 1, what is the area of the yard?
Okay, so what would you do?
I would do base times height and times that.
Okay, go ahead and show us on your paper. Okay, so what'd you get?
I got 2,400.
Okay. And then go ahead and read the next part for us, just so the camera can know what problem it is.
Should I say this?
Like
Okay.
Dan.
Dan takes an hour to cut the lawn using an old lawnmower. 2. How many square yards does Dan cut in a minute? Show your work.
So how do you think you'd solve that? Talk us through it.
I would probably use the answer from number 1 to, there's 60 seconds in a minute, so maybe, or maybe, how many square yards? Just divide it by, I'm going to say 60 from the answer to problem 1.
Okay, so go ahead and work that out for us and show us what you get. Okay, so what'd you get?
I got 40.
Okay, and explain to us why you divided by 60 here.
Because there's 60 seconds in a minute, and I decided if it takes him a minute, and so I divided by 60.
Okay, so go ahead and read the next part for us.
Alan only takes 40 minutes using a new mower. 3. How many square yards does Alan cut in a minute? Show your calculation.
And if you need to scroll back, we can.
Okay.
So you figured it out for Dan, and now they're asking for Alan.
Well, since 40 minutes, I would still take the answer from number 1 because that's the answer to all the yards. And so I would rewrite it, and it says it takes him 40 minutes. So I would divide that by 4.
And where did you get the 4 from?
Oh, 40 I meant. Because it says 40 up there. I got 60 as my answer for number
And what does
3.
that 60 mean?
It shows 40 minutes. Hold on. I think I just did the answer to like cut in a minute. Yeah, I just did a random problem there. Because it says number 3. I did like that as the answer for that.
So you're saying he cut 60 square yards in a minute then?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got
Okay.
confused there. I was like, wait, what?
Okay. So let's go on to number 4. Go ahead and read it for us.
One day they both cut the grass together. How long did they take? Show your work. Show how you figured it out. Well, if it says did they both take, it's a minute, then I would, well, I found out that Dan takes 40 minutes, or like 40 square yards in a minute, and I found out that Alan cut 60 in a minute, and if it's how long, then
So it's saying if they're both cutting the grass together, how long would it take to cut the whole thing?
like adding Dan's and Alan's like yards together, or just like their time together, like when they both will finish, or just when one will finish.
So they're going to be cutting at the same time, it's saying. So
Okay.
how long would it take them if they're both mowing to finish the whole yard?
Oh, okay. Well, if Dan takes square yards, then I would add 40 and 60 together, because it both took it took Dan 40 minutes, and it would take Alan 60, so 40. I know 40 has to be involved because it says Alan takes 40 like in the problem, so I'm gonna use that information on it.
So we figured out, we said 60 was how many square yards Alan cuts in 1 minute.
1 minute.
And we said 40
minutes.
was
Oh, yeah.
what?
So the amount of time it takes. So I would, I believe, multiply by 40, because it says in a minute he will do that. So times, that would get 9.4, because I divided that. Okay, so if he cuts in 60 in a minute, then I would need to multiply that by 40, but I would just end up with this, the 2,400.
So you would say it would take them 2,400 minutes to cut the grass?
No. I'm trying to figure out how that would work this problem.
So let's see if we can break it down as steps. It says one day they both cut the grass together. So
Okay.
just for that part, if we wanted to figure out how long it would take both of them to mow for 1 minute, what would we do?
You would divide the number of square yards and the time.
Well, so we did that, right?
And
So
got
we have Alan mows 40
square yards per minute.
and we have Dan mows...
No, this is Alan.
Or sorry, Alan mows 60 and then Dan mows 40. So if we want to figure out how much they would both mow together, what could we do?
You could add them.
Okay.
But the thing,
So if we add them, what would that tell us?
it would tell us how many square yards they would have to do. Or like how many they would do in like
In what time frame?
a minute.
So it would tell us how much they both mow in a minute together. So then what could we do to figure out the second part? So how long do they take to mow the whole thing?
Well, it takes 40 and 60 equal 100 there.
So we figured out if they're both mowing, that it would take them. Or if they're both mowing for 1 minute, they would mow 100
yards.
Yeah.
Square yards.
Okay.
And so time, then I would multiply Alan, since it gives us a time frame, by 100 or so.
So how many square yards do they have to mow total?
2,400.
Okay. And if they're both mowing together, they mow 100 square yards
Per
in 1
minute.
minute. So if they
So
have
I would
to
divide
mow,
it
Okay.
by 100. I would divide 100 to 2,400, or 2,400 to 100.
Okay. And what do you get?
2 times. $24.
Okay. So what does that 24 mean?
It would take them 24 minutes.
Okay. Both of them together
Mm-hmm.
to mow how much?
2,400.
Which is the whole thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and real quick point this to your work, just so if anybody has any questions, they can see what you did. And I do think we're done here.